everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars.
The show that takes you through every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to today.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ryan, and I didn't know you were recording.
You frantically looked at the thing, and I was like, did I hit record? What are we doing?
I didn't know you had pressed it, so I was just like, is it?
Yeah, I got all the really juicy bits you said right before we started recording.
Aw, man, you didn't get me talking about what I thought you did.
Oh, I did.
Oh, no.
Get ready for the bloopers, ladies and gentlemen.
Bloopers.
Bloopers. You know, the squid from Mario.
That's
That's the one.
Blooper.
And that's probably how he would say it if he wasn't Chris Pratt.
If Mario wasn't Chris Pratt.
Correct,
I was
yeah.
like, did he voice the bloopers?
Who knows what the sequels are going to have.
I still haven't seen Galaxy.
I haven't either.
I kind of like I don't want to,
I don't
but
want
I
to
know
either.
I'm going to.
Yeah, I'll watch it one day.
I mean, we're both gamers. Like, we both played Smash and like a bunch of Mario games. So why wouldn't we?
I love that you threw Smash out as...
Well, I mean, look, let's be so honest about Galaxy and who's in it.
Sure, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like,
Man.
I think it's all leading to an MCU style, like, Super Smash Bros. Movie.
If you added up all of the hours I've put into Smash throughout my entire life, it might be 2.
Really?
I have not played a lot of Smash.
Oh, brother, we are not the same.
No.
We are not built of the same cloth.
We are not.
I have played so much Smash Bros. In my life. I've played in a couple friend-organized tournaments. By no
Really?
means am I, like, a competitive, like, but I've had a lot of, like, friendly, like, tournaments where we've, like, made trophies and stuff for it. It's a ton of fun.
Who's your go-to?
Oh, depends on the game. But the generation console and everything.
Yeah.
Kirby, I really like.
Okay.
I also like Little Mac in like Ultimate and like the Switch editions.
Sure.
If it's not Kirby and it's not Little Mac, I also do pretty well with Samus.
Okay.
So probably Samus across the board, but I love Kirby.
Very nice.
But Kirby also is like, when you get into like competitive, like actual tournaments,
People hate him.
you're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that they hate him. It's just more like, I can easily defeat you.
As Kirby.
No, that people can defeat Kirby.
Oh, okay.
Because like almost anyone can destroy Kirby.
Gotcha.
But I just like his playstyle a lot.
He's floaty.
He's very floaty. Very See, 2 hours and you already you know a ton.
I've seen some floaty Kirby.
It sounds like more than 2 hours
Does it take more than 2 hours to see Kirby float?
to remember it. Maybe is what I would say.
I like that this is the argument we're having.
You can always tell how we feel. Like, what I love about episodes like this is in the first 10 minutes, whatever we talk about, I think people are like, oh, so that's how they feel about the movie.
Sure, yeah.
So that's fair. Because today we're talking about the Barretts of Wimpole Street.
Yeah, I like Solid Snake and Luigi. Thanks for asking. Today we're talking about the
You
Barretts
said
of Wimpole
2
Street.
hours. How am I supposed to know you have a preference?
I have preferences.
Okay, so Solid Snake makes sense because there's literally a giant poster of Snake behind you on the wall.
Would you look at that?
And then Luigi, not so much. Wow. Literally
right
a
over
stuffed
my left shoulder.
literally a stuffed Luigi right next to you. Yeah, but then Kingdom Hearts is it Goofy.
I would rather talk about the Barretts of Wimpole Street than Kingdom Hearts, honestly.
That's fair.
So
I can't agree with it, but that's fair. Barretts of Wimpole Street is what we're talking about today. So this continues our conversation of the 7th Academy Award
That's the
nominations. Now, with this one, we see a return of some people that we really like. We have, well, I'll let you dive into that. Why don't I get into nominations?
sure.
So nominations, there are not 1, not 3, 2 nominations for Barretts of
old
Wimpole Street.
LeBron.
It is actress in a leading role on behalf of Norma Shearer.
God.
Outstanding production is our second, and that is on behalf of MGM Metro Golden Mayer.
Nicely done. Proud of you. You talked about returning names.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody here is a return, including the director, Sidney Franklin. We just saw him do Smilin' Through last year.
Loves his Norma Shearer.
He does, and his Frederick March, because they're both back. Norma Shearer plays Elizabeth Barrett, Frederick March as Robert Browning, and then also returning is the great Charles Laughton, just being like the worst. Just awful.
He loves to look terrible.
He does.
He loves to sit in a makeup chair and say, just mess me up.
He said, you know those things they're calling chops? Give me those, but make it look like you shaved like a llama and then just glued it sporadically to my cheeks.
I want you to make it look like I put glue on my cheeks and then dove headfirst into a tumbleweed.
Exactly.
And that's what I want to look like.
That's the look I'm going for. Boris Karloff, who?
He said this was give me the Edward Moulton Barrett special. And that's what she gave him.
That's exactly what they gave him.
You're right. It was also written by Ernest Vejda, Claudine West, and Donald Ogden Stewart. And it was based on a play by Rudolph Bessier. So,
based on a play, filmed like a play.
Yeah, let's hop into that right after we talk about right after these messages.
Crest toothpaste.
I wasn't going to say anything,
expect.
but then come back and be like, wow, how great was that?
Yeah.
I love listening to a podcast when they're like, we're going to break right after these messages. So let's talk about this. I'm like, where are the messages?
Oh, right. It's like
I don't
they
mind.
forgot to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't mind, but where are the messages? But no, thanks for Crest for all your work on that.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
But why don't you
Not
talk
sponsored. I have to be clear.
Oh, yeah, not
We're
an
getting
ad. Not hashtag ad. Why don't you talk a little bit about the synopsis of the Barrett's Wimpole show?
So, Norma Shear, Elizabeth Barrett, is...
Ba, if you will.
Ba, yes. Ba.
Actually, pause.
Yes.
Why they call her Ba?
Elizabeth, obviously.
Stop. What are we doing?
You know,
Can you call me Ya then?
I can call you whatever I want.
Well, that's true.
We're that close.
That's right.
Baby.
But could anyone call me Ya?
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like, yeah.
I read recently, or I heard on a podcast, that Elizabeth is one of the most nicknameable names of all time.
Eliza, Liz,
Beth,
Bethy,
Lizzie,
sure. Bethy, I'm...
Ellie.
Now, Elle and Ellie, I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
We're literally saying a name that, like, the letters they're not there. So,
Okay.
like, Elizabeth, Ba,
Well, what are
it's
you gonna
B-E.
Yeah. Richard, Dick.
I mean,
You
sure,
know,
but Ba?
Robert, Bob.
I've never heard Ba before.
Well, now you have, Ryan. I mean, she played
I have
Mooneen
heard
in
it.
the last couple movies.
That's so true. So what we've learned is that Sidney Franklin is like, Norma Shear cannot have a normal name.
No.
Is what I'm hearing.
Norma is too close to normal. Let's just go nuts with her character.
We're going
names.
abnorma.
Yeah.
In this one.
Paranorma.
Paranorma. I'm so sorry I interrupted.
Oh, you're good.
You're right that I've heard Ba now because they say Ba at least 60 times in this movie.
Yeah. Oh,
Please
it's
go
back to
ahead.
me. Okay, so you have Ba Barrett, and she is the oldest of this wealthy family, and her father is very strict, very abusive,
Yes.
verbally abusive. It's kind of hinted that there's probably some physical abuse going on as well. And she is an invalid. She is stuck in bed at the beginning of this movie. They never say what her ailment was, I don't think, but she has been in contact. She's a poet, and she's been in contact with another writer, Frederick March, and they finally meet in person, and she falls in love. But her father is strictly against any of his children falling in love and moving on with their lives. And that's essentially the plot. Where, as the movie progresses, we learn why, and it's kind of like a third act twist in a big way. But this is 110 minutes of exactly what I just told you guys.
So I want to call back when we did our Skippy episode. I told you that I thought that
I can think of many reasons we're calling back to that.
I told you that there was a moment where I thought that the movie was kind of a one scene play of them in the dining room.
Right, yeah, that's
Like
what you had anticipated.
Right. I had anticipated that was happening because that was like kind of the opening shot. And that was the majority of I think it was like 15 minutes of a conversation. And I was like, wow, wouldn't that be interesting if that happened? Well, unfortunately, Sidney Franklin heard me. And he said, well, wouldn't it be interesting if the majority of this movie was Norma Shear in her kind of bed, not really, it was more a lounge chair, in her lounge chair, in her bedroom for, and I'm not exaggerating, I think 85% of this movie.
That bedroom is the main setting.
It is.
It's wild.
And it's just people coming in and out of the room while Norma Shear is, I would say, for maybe 80% of that 85% in the room, laying in that resting chair. And it is tough. This was a tough watch because you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but you and I just cannot vibe with the movies that are based on plays that are filmed like plays.
Kills me, man.
Where they just put a camera in one spot and say, sure, go for it. And this is that. And, I liked Smiling Through. I thought Smiling Through had some really, I cited that transition scene of when he's recalling what happened in the past and the camera moves past them to a whole different cast behind them on the other side of the river. Like, I thought that was genius.
Even the crane shot, like coming below the statue of the horse. And
Totally.
all that. Like, it didn't take much, but there was some camera movement happening.
I was about to say trickery, but you're right, because the camera moved, and it doesn't really move
That's all
here.
we need. That's all I'm asking for.
And unfortunately, at the time, I said, I'm not sure if this was Sidney Franklin or if it was the director that took over partially for him. It kind of seems now with this that it was the director that took over partially for him, because there's nothing that inspired in this.
I wonder if it's the cinematographer, because we did praise League Arms for Smiling Through, and this is a different cinematographer here.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing going on.
No.
If you're watching these films to praise the cinematography and be like, well, how did they operate the cameras back then? They hit record.
They sure did.
That's it.
They hit record. They made sure that most people were in the frame, and if not, they did their best to get in frame. I couldn't get into this, and part of it is the way that it's staged. Part of it is the very boring, scenery. If you're going to have to be in one place, you better make that place pretty interesting, and it's just not. And the other part is it just feels extremely overacted. This is a little bit of my problem with Charles Laughton now. I thought that he over-enunciated his performance in The Private Lives of Henry VIII. I think he over-announces his performance in this, too. I hear you on that twist, and we'll talk about it, but it doesn't really explain to me why he is the way he is. It explains why he would have some motivation, but his character itself is just, I am the villain.
Yes.
And I need to play the villain, so I will be playing the villain as hard as I need to. So I just couldn't get into this. I think Norma Shearer does a pretty good job. There's nothing wrong with Norma Shearer in this. It's just she is confined to one location for the majority of the movie. And outside of maybe the last 20-25 minutes, she has an opportunity to move her legs a little bit,
right?
But outside of that, not really. I liked her and Frederick March. I think they're good. They're not incredible. They're completely fine together in this.
Yeah,
I liked them a little bit better in Smiling Through, so maybe it's more the material that they work with or their characters, but I thought they were good. I agree with you. Norma Shearer is absolutely breathtaking to watch.
always.
And Frederick March, I think, does a pretty good job. I really liked how charismatic he was in this.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of charm, because otherwise, this is a film that takes place in 1845 in London. So it could have just been I don't want to say Little Women in a derogatory way, but it could have just been a historical period piece of the way they talk to each other. Mm-hmm. But he has a little bit more of a 1930s charm to him in this role.
Sure.
And that was welcomed. So it was picking up a little bit when he walks in and has a conversation with her. But then Charles Laughton to me is kind of the movie. Norma Shearer really is the movie, the majority of the time she's on screen.
Yeah.
But Charles Laughton is trying to command a presence with this.
Yeah.
And for me, I won't get into the behind the scenes stuff just yet, but it just feels like I need you to look at me, and less I'm going to do justice to this character. And that's kind of my vibe with Private Lives of Henry VIII, and I picked up on the same thing here. So it might just be I'm not a Charles Laughton guy, but that stood out to me.
Interesting. I feel like just based on the movies that we've watched Charles Laughton in, I have a lot of respect for him willing to kind of put himself out there,
Sure,
and play these roles that...
You can't say he's a bad actor.
Right. In the time of glitz and glamour, he's not afraid to be the guy that's ripping apart chickens on set, or wearing these crazy chops, the facial hair and all of that, and really playing kind of despicable characters as well.
Absolutely.
That aren't as... You don't have that love for these characters the way you do the Universal monsters, who are grotesque, but kind of in a fun way. So I give him a lot of credit. My big issue with this movie, this is a real people. This is a story based on real life events, and this is not something I was familiar with. And every bit of info I read about these real people, the important thing here is the relationship between Robert and Elizabeth. I don't think that is presented in a very enticing or interesting way, their relationship in this movie, and that's so much of the movie is their courtship.
That's true. I mean, the real allure of it is that he's not a Barrett,
Right.
and he is her way out of the house.
Yeah. Apparently, like, there are beautiful love notes that were handed back and forth between the couple in real life, and some of them are like printed and framed and put in museums and things, because they both are poets and writers. It doesn't really play a huge part in this. Like, they discuss their poetry and things like that, and that's kind of what brings them together and has them romance.
I think he reads one poem that she wrote.
Yeah. A lot of the times that her poems are read in this movie, it's all of the other characters going, well, that's lovely, my dear. Well, what does it mean? Well, I don't know. I just think it sounds nice.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know.
Well, and he's the first one to really understand her.
Yeah.
Right? Like, understand what it all means. So I think it's the feeling seen and feeling, like, represented.
Sure.
Like, she actually has someone who understands her. So I understood that. I agree with you. I feel like when you try and rationalize why they're together, it's more, I want to leave this house, and he understands my poetry.
Yeah. And regardless of like the why they get together, I just don't think that their chemistry in this, like you said, it's fine, but because it's so much of this long movie, I didn't care very much.
You know, I would watch a movie because Norma Shear is in it. Mm-hmm. I would watch a movie that Frederick March is leading because, I mean, I liked him fine and smiling through. Loved him in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
And Charles Laughton, it's certainly appealing to watch a movie that he's leading as well. So when you have something that like all three of them are in, it feels like a little mini Grand Hotel. In like,
Sure.
You know, we're putting all of these actors in one movie. Isn't that incredible? And to me, it just has to be source material because I feel like they're doing about as best as they can, but it's just not interesting.
All three of these characters are Oscar winners. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wild.
So in theory, it should be like, you know, this expertly like crafted like showcase of these performances.
Star-studded cast.
Exactly. But instead, it feels like a misfire to me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is the presentation of the story. And boy, like I said, it's just a stage play. That's it.
It's a stage play, and the concept is just a very overbearing father and how he traps his children at home. We should talk about his children. Yeah. There is a scene pretty early on in the movie where Elizabeth is bedside or like bedridden. Thank you. She's bedridden, and her siblings start visiting her. And, you know, her sister comes in, and then another sister comes in, and then a brother comes in. And I'm not exaggerating. This continues to happen until there are roughly 15 people in the room.
Yeah.
And then their father walks in, and they're all just like blindsided by his appearance. And I would like to beg the question, and this answer is not provided in the movie. How many children does Charles Laughton have in this movie?
I don't think he has that many. I don't think those were all children.
Well, there are like, you know, cousins who will come and visit and like call him uncle and everything. But certainly what's the appearance that's given is that these people who are in her room live there. And it's not just like, hey, I'm your sister and this is my husband, and I'm your brother and this is my wife. Like, it is what's up, sis, and we're all wearing suits.
Right.
And it's like at one point 15 people.
Yeah, totally. And it's wild to me that when Charles Laughton does show up in the room, this army is just like, oh no, it's him. It's like, guys, he's one man.
You could take him.
Yeah, and he's looking a little scruffy. You could probably handle this.
How often is he like looming on the stairs and you could just push him?
Right. Just end it. Just goodbye, Charles. That's what I'd say.
Oh, another notable return.
Maureen O'Sullivan.
True, but I was going to say, so Una O'Connor returns in this. She was from Cavalcade. Not to say, you know, oh, it's the return of Una O'Connor, but she's, I thought she was good in this. And she's another person, the whole reason I thought of her, who could also push him down the stairs.
Sure, yeah. She was kind of an interesting character to me, not so much for her role in this, but more so that she's almost portraying like a stereotype. She's just like Mrs. Potts.
Yeah.
Like her accent and everything.
Well, and that's almost Cavalcade as well.
Yeah.
When we are introduced to her, she has a similar position within the house.
Yeah. I did enjoy her performance a lot. Like I said, though, Maureen O'Sullivan does return, and we just saw her in The Thin Man. So that's just to further emphasize like the powerhouse of a cast this is. I I do think that you were criticizing Charles Lawton a little bit just for your own personal enjoyment of him. I do think that when he was on screen, like that's when I was most engaged in this, because otherwise it was just this romance that I didn't really care about. So when he shows up, I'm like, okay, here's where we're getting like some conflict, some context as to why this movie is even in existence, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, he's a little over the top. He's not my favorite performance. Norma Shear, worthy of being nominated.
She's the highlight.
Yeah.
To me, I agree.
This is such a hard movie to talk about because nothing really happens.
No, and honestly, it's so funny because I think you and I are flipped. I think we both feel the same way about the movie.
Yeah.
But in terms of the things we didn't like, I think we're flipped. Because to me, the romance between Frederick March and Norma Shear, I was more interested in, okay, where could this go? Is it going to get her out of the house? And whenever Charles Lawton showed up until the third act, and even then I don't really excuse it, it feels more like a, hey, this is something that could really be good to me. What do you think, Dad? And he's like, no, and then leaves. And he's just keeping her down. And he thinks, I guess, that he's helping her, but I just don't see that. Like, in his mind, he's like, well, have I not done everything for you? What have you done? Like, I'm at home and I'm trapped here and you're telling me I can't ever leave, even when the doctors suggest that, like, I go to Paris, like or Italy, when I can. And you're telling me that I can't. So it is kind of remarkable that this movie is an hour and 50 minutes long, just 10 minutes shy of 2 hours. And yet you and I were sitting here worried about if we could spend 60 minutes talking about it.
Right, yeah.
Because just nothing really happens in this movie.
No.
There's a lot of like, well, but there's this scene where this happens. It's like, yeah, that happens a couple times. Because again, she's just bedridden. The scene that I probably liked the most, or at least was the most notable, was when she feels just a little bit better. So she runs down the stairs to go to Robert Browning, Frederick March, and she wants to show how she can do all of this. And unfortunately proves her father right, because he's telling her like she can't be doing all this. And she says, well, I'm going to go back up the stairs. And he's like, you can't do that on your own. She's like, watch me. And she does, but about maybe halfway, maybe even a quarter, she starts like falling a little bit. So he goes to catch her, picks her up, and then takes her, like carries her to her bedroom. And unfortunately, that's one of the most notable scenes because he's proven right. And that's the last thing he needed. So look, there's a whole other side of this that people are picking up on as well. And one of those is that, like, there's a little bit of an incestuous nature. And this was written into the character.
It's a big thing. It's something that they had to cut a lot of.
Right. So they had to cut a lot out of it. And yet, maybe you can pinpoint where I don't like Lawton as much. Even with that being cut and toned down, Lawton famously said at the time when they talked about cutting that they couldn't censor the, quote, gleam in his eye. So he was saying, well, you can cut those lines out, but you can't cut that out of my performance because it's still in my eye.
Listen, which is great, honestly.
Sure.
Like, no praise to his character, but like that's what's written into this character. And if the studio is going to start cutting things, or the production office is going to start cutting things, it's nice that he has that much faith in his acting ability that he, or his pride in his acting, that he's able to portray this very weird and gross concept just through a look on his face. Like,
true.
Way to go, Charles. You grossed me out in this. Even after they cut all the gross stuff.
And that's the point, I suppose. Like, and that's true. I can't hold his character's intentions against him.
Yeah.
And he's just like trying to do right by the character. But still, it was kind of a weird thing to read when I'm already not a big fan of Lawton. So you're right. It's a good call. But that was something that he famously said, and that they did try to tone down from the performance. So my understanding is in the play, it was a little bit more written and intentional.
Yeah. And I was reading too that like sexual aggression he has towards his children, like that wasn't real. That was something that was added just as like shock value. Yeah, just for the story overall. It's like historically that there's no evidence of that.
I'm so glad you said shock value because I think that's my issue with the movie. I think that Charles Lawton's character just feels like I'm supposed to be this very loud, well, no, he's actually kind of quiet, but this like such a pronounced villain.
Yeah.
And I need to just keep you here. And even with the realization of like why he's doing what he's doing, to me, it doesn't really explain or like fully excuse it. So to me, it just feels like we had to like go above and beyond to show a villain in this. and Charles Laughton is up for the part, but it's just such a showy performance and not in a good way for me. So I couldn't rock with it. The other thing that's interesting about this is that Laughton was only 3 years older than Shearer here. So they're very close in age, and yet,
Looking rough.
Yeah, well, the makeup is very good in this, I suppose, is what you can say. It's not something that you notice when you're watching, but when I looked it up afterwards, it's like, oh, that's interesting. That it's like father and daughter. But because you buy it with Norma Shearer. I mean, she looks like she could be like anywhere between 18 to like 35.
Right.
Like, it's just hard to tell.
Off anything.
The other thing, too, is that, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, not most, but I was excited to talk to you about. You mentioned Sidney Franklin directed this. He remade this in 1957.
Oh, yeah. I did see this.
And not only was it a remake, it was shot for shot, word for word.
What shot?
The one shot for shot.
Jeez.
It was shot for shot, word for word, same movie by the same director. And that begs the question, why? Did he feel like this wasn't like, it didn't get its like true recognition at the time? And if he did, why wouldn't he bring back some of the people? Like, because I think Norma Shearer was still like doing work in 1957. Oh, I guess she can't play that young of a role. Sure. But like, bring some people back into it. Because otherwise it feels like if it's word for word, shot for shot, same director, it feels like, well, it didn't take that first time. Maybe it will this time. And I don't know. That's a weird thing for me. Because it's apparent that this movie was not received as well as they wanted it to be, to a point where Laughton was like disappointed that he wasn't nominated for Best Actor. He thought this was like an Oscar-worthy performance, his words. So he was disappointed that he wasn't nominated for this. So there was a clear disappointment with, at least on Laughton's side, but clearly also with Franklin, if he wanted to revisit this story again. A story he didn't write, but a story he adapted and thought he could do again. So I don't know. It's a weird situation.
I'm looking at the 1957 version right now, and there's not enough ratings. It's been seen by 272 members on Letterboxd, so not much at all.
Yikes.
It's not enough to actually see a number, but most people are giving it like 3.5 to 4 stars.
Which, no spoiler, is higher than I would have rated this.
Yeah. This has an average 3.3 on Letterboxd.
Okay.
And wow, even this has like 3 to 4.5.
I don't get it.
Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is a big issue I have. I've been thinking a lot about like studios and what they're putting out.
Yeah.
Right? During this time period. We've seen some heavy hitters this year alone from Columbia Pictures, which is kind of like the underdog studio.
Right.
There have been a lot of Warner Brothers pictures that I really enjoy. Paramount puts out a lot of things that I can get behind. Even RKO, like Universal, we haven't seen a lot of them, but like outside of the Academy, they're doing the Universal Monsters and all of that. They did All Quiet on the Western Front. MGM, however, unless they're doing like these glitzy musicals, I don't know if I enjoy half of the things MGM puts out. And the bummer is that because of the contracts and the studio system at the time, if you have an actor or an actress that you really enjoy and they are in contract with a studio that you don't really enjoy, they're kind of locked into just productions that you can't get behind. And that's how I feel about Norma Shearer. It's no secret that I love Norma Shearer. But beyond The Divorcee, I've never really fully vibed with any of her movies that we've sat down and watched.
I would say the closest we've gotten is Smiling Through.
Yeah, but
which we're like kind of halfway through.
You enjoyed that a lot more than I did.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. There's a real chance here too that like people just wanted to go and see plays. People just wanted to go to like their local theater and like see these plays from these like, large stars. You can't do that. So instead what you can do is we can film a movie that is based on this play that people do want to go see, starring these actors that everyone knows and have given incredible performances before doing those roles. So maybe there was a time where and there are people who really do just want to see the filmed aspect of this and they're rating it that highly. Because to me, I mean, I'm not saying there's bad performances here. Even Charles Laughton, who I'm not fully vibing with, it's not a bad performance. No. I think it's a little one note, but it's not bad. But the subject matter is just so uninteresting. And it's 2 hours, just about 2 hours.
That's the killer for me.
That really destroys it.
Yeah.
And when I was watching this movie might as well have been 3. I just told you I'd rewatched and I'm not trying to be that guy who's like, be like Toy Story. But I just watched the Toy Story trilogy 1 through 3. And the thing I just told Taylor was like, those movies are 45 minutes. They're not. They're like 90. But they feel like 45 minutes because they introduce the plot very early on, and the entire movie is that plot.
Sure.
There's no like side story, this and that. Like it all kind of blends in. And those movies feel like 45 minutes. Like they are quick. So I think the length of your movie doesn't really matter if the pacing is good.
Right.
And the pacing here is just so not important.
Yeah, we've complained a lot about third acts recently for a lot of these films.
This is one that the middle is the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the most exciting part of this movie is, in fact, the third act, and really kind of the finale, I guess. For a movie that's an hour and 50 minutes, like that is a cinema sin to have to sit through that much movie just to get to a point where you go, oh, okay, I'll pay attention now. Not that I was paying attention this whole time, but I was like, why? Why am I watching this?
Leaning forward.
Right. So it's such a bummer. I keep looking at the time and I'm like, 34 minutes.
That's also how I felt watching this movie.
Stretch. Yeah.
I was like, are we done?
I'm like, oh, well, can we talk about this scene? Can we talk about that scene? And there's nothing really worth talking about until you get to the end.
Wow.
I will say, like, Maureen O'Sullivan, her character, Henrietta, the younger sister, like, she has a side plot here as well where she's fallen in love with another gentleman.
Is she the one, or is this the cousin who has the lisp?
The cousin who has the
speech
lisp,
impediment.
Isn't that... Yeah, that is a woman. I feel like there was a guy, too, that also had a speech impediment.
She's like, we're very proud to see you.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely the daughter.
Okay, yeah, that was her sister.
Well, let me look.
I'm pretty sure that was her sister.
Maureen O'Sullivan was the sister?
I'm pretty sure.
Yes, Henrietta Barrett.
Yes.
So she has the side plot, which I actually think is more interesting than Norma Shearer and
agree.
Frederick March. All that being said, like, her performance is good, but it's still just not enough for me to be drawn into it. So... No matter what you try and pull from this, where you're like, oh, well, let's talk about this. It's like, it's not really worth talking about.
Well, I would hate to correct you this quickly, but I do have something that I think we're going to talk about a good bit that you have not mentioned yet.
Is this our second canine star of the podcast?
It sure is.
Boy.
In the very beginning of this, it does something that I love, which is it shows the actor and then says the name.
I love it too.
Love this aspect. And it goes through the list. It says Norma Shearer as Elizabeth Barrett, Frederick March as Robert Browning, Charles Lawton as Edward Moulton Barrett, and then Maureen O'Sullivan as Henrietta Barrett. And at the very end, it says, and Flush as himself.
Yeah.
And Flush is a Cocker Spaniel. And Flush is the star of this movie.
Flush is good.
I don't want to be Homer Simpson with, like, whenever Poochie's not on screen, everyone should be asking, where's Poochie?
Yeah.
That was me. Like, whenever, like, a scene was happening and Flush wasn't there, I was like, we need to get Flush back on screen.
Yeah. A highlight in this, for sure, is when Flush is sitting on Norma's lap and she's petting him and she starts crying and little Flush was sleeping and then he looks up like, why do you cry, Norma? And I'm just like... Why do I cry, Flush?
I do think Flush, not a joke, was giving one of the better performances in this movie.
Yeah, Flush was great.
Like, really good. There's one of the opening scenes is Flush running up the stairs and then going to her door and then scratching on the door and waiting very politely.
Great.
Sitting down and then just, like, trotting in.
Yeah.
There's even a weird tense scene. I don't know if you caught on to this. A scene where, like, Charles Lawton is so mad and he looks at the door and, like, it's Flush and Flush kind of looks at him and then just, like, very confidently, like, trots over to, like, her bed and jumps on, where I was like, do they have beef? Like,
well, they do. They certainly do. The first time you see Charles Lawton come into the room and the entire army of a family is in there.
the Barrett battalion, if you will.
Very nice. I like that. Flush, like, hops off the bed and gets into his little doggy bed because he's like, oh, no.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, fantastic performance. I love these dogs in these movies.
So, great year for dogs.
Great year for dogs.
I'm trying to remember the name. Asta?
Asta, yeah, that was the character. I don't remember the dogs.
I don't.
Oh, I gotta look.
Did you write it down?
I did look. Yeah, of course. Top billing. Skippy.
You can't write that. So Skippy performed Asta. Sorry.
Asta, yeah.
And in this case, Flush played himself, which that's when you know you're a star.
Listen.
When they're like, you are Flush.
Yes. We have the George... What's his name?
Arliss?
No. Oh, God, no.
E. Stone?
George E. Stone. We have the George E. Stone Award coming for our annual Once Upon a Time at the Oscars podcast. I think we also need to do a
Please
best
don't shoot
animal.
my co-star.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good name. I'm going to write that down.
Please don't shoot my co-star award goes to.
Yeah, I think we should also have that because there have been some great animal actors, I think, throughout every year, and this one being one of the strongest years.
Well, it also just helps that, like, and this is how you feel about Norma Shearer, so I don't feel so bad. Half the reason that Flush is just so cute. Like, I cannot get over how cute Flush is. There's scenes where performances are happening, and Flush is like, I'm just catch a quick nap here if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just falls asleep right on her lap. And I was just glued to the screen whenever Flush was on. And, you know, with something like Asta, like in Thin Man, that is central to the performance of that movie. And I don't think it's as central here, but it needed it. It desperately needed something like that to keep you more invested. And again, like, I think it shows like the kind-hearted nature of someone like Elizabeth Barrett.
Sure.
So you see a little bit more of that. And Flush is central to the story because at the very end, spoilers for this movie, the Barretts of Wimpole Street, she ends up running off with Robert Browning.
Right.
And they're leaving despite her father's wishes. And I kind of like this moment for Maureen Sullivan a good bit. This might be my second favorite moment, where the family finds a letter and the battalion runs in and all 45 of them run into the room and say, well, what's going on? And the sister with a lisp is crying and says, she left me this letter. And then she left this letter for dad. Or father is what they call him. And they're all like, well, who's going to give it to her? And Maureen O'Sullivan's like, me. Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Give me the ball right now. And when he walks in, she has such like a, you did this to yourself, like look on her face. And
Very
the performance
smug.
is like giving him the note, just like revel in this because I know I'm going to.
Yeah.
And he, of course, is livid and he runs to the window to look for her. And he's like, find her dog, bring me the dog, or rather, find the dog, take it to the local shelter, and eradicate it.
Right.
Annihilate it. And
Destroy.
destroy
I think
him.
he says destroy.
I think you're right, destroy.
I'm just like...
And they're like, she actually took... I think this is Maureen O'Sullivan, too, where she's like, well, she took him, so you can't. And he's just like... I think the closing shot is how mad he is.
Closing shot of that scene.
Yes.
We then move on to the wedding.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
And then the wedding comes. That's right.
Closing shot of Flush.
So you're right. Again, the beef between them is so funny.
Yeah.
Because he says to destroy the dog, and she's like, you can't. They took him with them. And he has this absolute look of like, he's going to scream, like shout Khan from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And the camera fades into Flush sitting at the wedding by the door.
Yep.
Almost as a security guard. Like no one else is coming into this chapel. And that shot of Charles Laughton looking so mad, cutting to Flush, incredible.
I love that Flush shows up because the year prior, Flush saw Smiling Through and was like, no, I saw what happened at Mooneen's wedding. I'm not letting anything like that happen again.
The last time you two got married, things did not go well.
Exactly. That's good. Yeah, I think that's the first moment you see Charles Laughton kind of look like defeated, which is cool that it's done by the dog. The Maureen O'Sullivan performance is great, how she is so smug with the, here's the letter.
Yeah.
I don't like that she breaks in between that and the, well, they took the dog with them. And she's like, oh, Father, please forgive her, blah, blah. We're past that, girl.
Yeah.
Move on. The one scene that I think is probably the most talked about scene in the movie is when... I want to say his name. I got to get better at saying the character names.
Robert Browning?
When Edward sits down with Ba and finally reveals like why he is the way he is. This is when you get the full-on like, look, you were born from love. But after that, I was just getting wild. I was like a sex addict, he basically says to his daughter. And it feels like it comes out of left field.
It does.
It's so bizarre. And again, this is something that I read was like not a trait of the real Edward Moulton Barrett. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, whoa, what are we doing here?
That's your daughter, bro.
Yeah. And He does have a moment where he's like, look, I know that this was all pretty awful to hear, but... And then he like puts a move on her, and it's really gross. It's really detestable. But I think that this is the moment of the film that most people will be like, yeah, I watched this, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
It almost feels like, who did Promising Young Woman and Saltburn? Who is that?
Emerald Fennel.
Yes. This is when it takes like an Emerald Fennel turn.
The, how did Tina Fey put it? The surprisingly violent sexual left turn in the third act?
Yeah. That's 100% what this feels like. Just in here for shock value. Especially when you learn that, okay, well, this isn't historically accurate either. So, I don't know. This hit, and my jaw dropped a little bit because I was surprised I was seeing this in 1934. And then when I read deeper into it, my jaw hit again because I'm like, whose idea was this?
Do we think this is more interesting if it's a unofficial sequel to Private Lives of Henry VIII?
Like a descendant, like Henry's kid finally grows up, and then eventually
he's like, "Hey, look, this is just the way I've looked at relationships because of my father and everything. He just flew through women,
could be.
And now I just want to keep everyone like." It almost feels like a Shyamalan twist.
Yeah,
where it's like, you didn't see that coming, did you? It's like, well, no, but like
that doesn't mean I wanted to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, and I don't know what this movie is selling. And the fact that it has 3.3, I'm like, guys.
To me, I think that a lot of the heavy carrying of that is the, not performances, but the actors.
Yeah, that's got to be it. I mean, you
had
Cedric Gibbons doing the set design here. And like you said, this one set that we get, it's not really doing anything for me.
No, I mean, it's completely fine. And I will tell you that I guess I'm influenced because I want that, like, laying chair that she's in for the majority of the movie.
It does look cozy.
I would like that. But unfortunately, as we determined in our Disraeli episode, any movie that is predominantly featuring someone in a play-like movie or based on a play, resting in a chair, being sickly, wrapped in a blanket for the majority of the movie, isn't going to get a lot of love from us.
No, there's got to be something that differentiates it from a play and a movie.
And to me, the performances that Marino Sullivan and Norma Shear and Frederick March are giving aren't one of, well, this is my movie. Charles Laughton's doing it a little bit, but not to a George Arliss level. It's just a very loud performance.
Yeah.
So it doesn't commit the sin. The actors don't commit the sin of George Arliss in Disraeli, but the filmmaking of this does.
Yeah. And it's going to be something I'm going to be so happy that we do away with. The one praise I do have for movies like this is...
Outside of Flesh.
What?
Outside of Flesh?
What is that? What are you saying to
The
me?
dog?
Oh, Flush. I thought you were saying flesh.
Yikes.
I was like...
No.
Excuse me?
Outside of the dog named Flush.
Yes. Thank you for the clarification.
Uh-huh.
Man. When you have this type of like, okay, set the camera up and just let things go. Yeah. Like, at least you're getting, okay, let the actors act, which is something that I do think is missing from like modern films.
Sure.
Especially working on a set. And you see where some actors are getting to say one line at a time. And then the camera flips and they're like, all right, let's get the turnaround. Here's your one line. So it allows the actors to do a form of acting that I think is kind of faded away from a lot of modern productions. So I do enjoy seeing that a little bit. But I'm also like, look, I could just go see the play. I wouldn't, but I could.
Yeah, it's not a performance, but it's like, I can't remember if it's Taken 2. I think it's Taken 3. There's a segment of Liam Neeson climbing a fence.
Oh.
And it's like roughly 40 cuts.
Right.
Of like a bam, 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 him climbing one fence.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing of like, we just can't linger on one thing.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And it's nice to be able to get like some performances like that. But again, if the story is uninteresting...
Right.
We're not changing our location, we got to do something different.
I think it's rare that a movie that is just film the play does well, and this is not the example of that.
No, it's not. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we're about to get into ratings, but I do want to ask, there is a trend of blank on blank street, and it's rare that the street really matters in that scenario. This is an example of that. Do we care that this takes place on Wimpole Street?
Not at all.
Is there some historical relevance to Wimpole Street?
I was kind of waiting for them to run into like another family of the Barretts and be like, well, no, we're the Barretts of Wimpole Street.
Right.
But I was also kind of waiting. I guess I would prefer them not doing this over like the last line being like, I did my best to protect my family, the Barretts of Wimpole Street.
Yeah, like throw something in there.
Or like there's like some guy who's like, at his funeral and he's like, we don't talk about the Barretts of Wimpole Street or something. But no, it's never talked about. There's no clarification.
Yeah, maybe it's because like this was a real thing and it did happen on Wimpole Street.
I suppose.
But
apparently, was it a real thing? I mean, like they existed, but like,
yeah, like all of this
what happens
was
in the movie?
real, but the details, like there was an overbearing father who wasn't allowing this. Was he
actually a sex addict?
Yeah, was he making passes on his daughter? According to what I read, no.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Written by Edward Barrett.
I just wonder if it's one of those trends of kind of like the Once Upon a Time at blank, where we got our show name. There's Mexico, there's Hollywood, there's in the West. Those make more sense because those things actually take place there.
Right.
Is this one of those trends of like Nightmare on Elm Street? Does Elm Street really matter in that? More so than this, it does.
I would argue way more than in this. Yeah.
It's just one of those movie title trends, I guess, that I always think is interesting.
Yeah, no, it seems like they could have found a better name. But again, why would Sidney Franklin remake it with the same name, with the same shots, same shot, and the same words?
Blech.
Doesn't make sense.
My favorite thing that we can take away from this movie and this episode is when you texted me and said, what movie are we covering? The Barretts of the Wimpy Kid or something like that? That was good. I laughed pretty hard at that.
I'm glad that this movie could bring us some joy in that sense.
Yeah.
I do also want to call out when we talk about like, movies that are filmed that are based on plays, how you can do that. And I think, a good example, this isn't always done this way. Fences is a good example. Denzel Washington. This is not my double feature, but in 2016, Denzel Washington filmed and starred and directed in the movie Fences, and that was based on a play. So there are ways to do it to where it's not just one camera set up, and you can be artistic with it, and I would welcome that. And I know that, like, some of this is, well, you are grading a movie from 1934 in 2026 with things that we have not done at that point, or, we've learned from our experiences. Sure, true, but at the same time, we are seeing other films, like, experimenting with this, and there are different ways, different kinds of directors back then. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's a cinematographer issue. Maybe like it is just a source material issue. But there is something that stops this film from being interesting. And especially for how long it is, it needs something other than just flush on screen. Flush. F-L-U-S-H.
That's the one.
Can you imagine if I was like, there's flesh on screen, 4 stars?
Well, there it is, folks. Yeah, so
I literally almost just looking for this movie typed in "Here Comes the Barretts of Wimpole Street."
Interesting.
I was combining a couple things.
Here comes the Barretts of Wimpole Street. So let's get into ratings. Spoiler alert, I gave it 2 stars.
Same.
I'd probably give it lower on a rewatch.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
This is not a movie that I think over time I'll remember it a bit differently. I might not go below 2 because of the dog, whose name it sounds different when I say it.
Yes.
I love that dog in this movie.
Dog.
So 2 stars feels like the best I can do for it.
Yeah, it's boring.
I don't mean to Pawn Stars it, but like best I can do is 2 stars.
Right.
Let me call my incestuous father guy and see if he can tell me a bit more about this character than you can.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, no, this is not what you want. I'll say that. And it comes in a year that I think has been kind of off and on.
Yeah.
We've had a peak in Thin Man. And I think for what's to come, we'll have another peak. But we're at a weird spot. Because we liked Here Comes the Navy. Fine. And your face tells me that we didn't.
No, we did.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. You were like, who? Me? Yeah, we've enjoyed some of these. I do think this is kind of like a down note. And I think this is like we're taking the wrong lessons from things like Little Women.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we love period piece dramas based on plays or novels, don't we? And I'm like,
right.
You got to have a reason for it.
Yeah.
And performances will only get you so far.
People must have been flocking to the theater for the names. And
Well, that's the point, is that with Letterboxd reviews, that's not Rotten Tomatoes. That's not, we looked at all the past reviews and thought what it was. These are current reviews.
Yeah.
Or at least, more recent.
And that's why I don't understand why it's as high as it is.
Let us know. Let us know how we got it wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'll argue. I will. But yeah, how about double features?
So for double features, it was a difficult one, but I settled on a movie by actually someone who's in the news a good bit, Destin Daniel Cretton. He's doing the new Spider-Man Brand New Day. He did Short Term 12. He did Shang-Chi and the Golden 10 Rings. The 10 Rings. And when he did Short Term 12, that was one of his first films that he did with Brie Larson. And then he made another film with Brie Larson in 2017 called The Glass Castle. And that is my double feature recommendation. The Glass Castle is based on a novel, and the idea is that a family is on the run from I think tax evasion, or like from the law. Mm-hmm. And they are traveling place to place, living off the grid. And as she's older, she reflects on the lifestyle that she lived and how her father was overbearing and tried to give him the best life possible and dreaming of glass castles when that was never a reality for them. And the idea is that Brie Larson's character reflects a little bit of Norma Shear here in like living under the thumb of her father. And while it was joyful at the time, she can reflect back and look at how he didn't set her up for success. And the tension between the daughter and the father, I thought there was a lot of connection there. Woody Harrelson, her father, is not giving the same kind of despicable performance as as Charles Laughton is in Barrett's Wimpole Street. But I thought that connection of the two of them made for a very good double feature.
Nice.
Can't say I loved The Glass Castle, but I also can't say I loved Barrett's Wimpole Street. So
there you go.
There's a double feature for you.
Double feature of things you don't love.
Love to knock those out for you.
My favorite. Good double feature. It sounds interesting enough to check out.
I was waiting for you to try and... I saw you think of the word good in your head, and you were like, no. Different word.
Well, when you describe it as...
Yeah.
You gotta...
That was a tough one because we saw it in theaters and Taylor was like, I loved this novel, so we have to see the movie. And then we watched the movie and I was like... I think she felt the same way too. She was like, the novel's way better. But still.
That's always a bummer.
Yeah.
So I went with the trope I was just talking about of the blank on blank street. And I also went with something that has kind of weird relationship stuff in it and a dad who's not a great dad, but maybe tries with good intentions. He's not doing the best, but whatever. I'm going with Sweeney Todd and the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Listen, he loves his Joanna, and he's trying to get vengeance, and things don't really go great.
Do you think this movie needed murder?
It almost got it with Flush. He's a pretty awful dad, and I think he was willing to make a couple meat pies out of the pup.
Yeah,
and that bums me out.
Yeah, meat pies out of the pup is just the sentence I did not think was going to be said this morning.
Well, you got to be ready for everything on this show, I guess.
Yeah, I sure do. Demon Barber of Fleet Street, good call.
Yeah, man. It's more interesting than Wimpole Street.
I completely agree. Or those Barretts.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Todd. That's all I'm hearing now.
I really like Sweeney Todd.
I think it's great. No, I own a Tim Burton collection. I was just going through my physical media the other day. I told you I was yesterday. Yeah. I was building out my new shelves and everything. And I saw that I have a Tim Burton collection. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I have this because it gives me Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And I was like, oh, I have that on Criterion. I was like, yeah, but I love Mars Attacks. I'm like, oh, I have that in Steelbook. And the more I thought about it, I was like, do I need this? I need this collection? And I'm not... Tim Burton for me is a hit or miss. That is close to a 50-50 for me, director.
Yep.
I think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is in there, and I almost kind of want to just throw that disc into the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But Sweeney Todd's in there. And until I find a really cool edition of Sweeney Todd, I think I'm going to keep the Tim Burton collection because of that.
Yeah.
So great call out.
I love Sweeney Todd.
It's good.
Solid one. Yeah, that's the Barretts of Wimpole Street. If you have thoughts, shoot us an email at outaopodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to take a couple minutes to hype something up that we've got going on. I'll see
you later, buddy.
Bye. That's exactly what's going to be happening would have happened a couple days ago. So this is the last episode of June. We'll be finishing up the 1934 7th Academy Awards, moving into the first half of July. And there are 4 movies we'll be covering. And it wasn't until early in this year that I realized, one of these movies is almost lost media. what are we going to do?
Almost lost media, meaning the only way to see it is how?
It is playing at they have the only surviving copy at the UCLA TV and Film Archive.
Right.
In Los Angeles, California. And I was like, well, what do we do? We've already done a Lost Media episode with The Patriot back in the second year of the show. I don't want to just read up on it and just do our best that way. So I did the completely financially irresponsible thing. And as you're listening to this, I am in Los Angeles, and I have seen The White Parade, which will be the last film we cover for the 7th Academy Awards. So this is just me hyping up what we have coming out in these first 2 weeks. We have a couple of interviews lined up. One with the return of Antonia Carlotta, and she's going to be talking with us about the last Laemmle produced Best Picture nominee, Imitation of Life. That will be July 8th. I'm really excited to speak with her again.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Catch up and just be like, hey, how
I'm
you
back,
been?
by the way.
Yeah. Welcome back, Ryan. But also, I'm really excited to fly out to California and check out the White Parade and just have that experience of not only going to UCLA, we're both going to be speaking with two of the folks at UCLA that are in charge of preservation and like curation.
It's, we talk a lot about goals in this podcast, like off pod. And one of the goals that we had was just like pushing the agenda of preservation and like film restoration.
Yeah.
And there is really no better source to get that information than from the UCLA. We just covered a few months ago, the front page. And we watched on that Criterion disc the efforts that go into like both the Howard Hawks Library and the UCLA, and how far they go to restoration. So I think I'm really looking forward to that conversation. I think that's going to be a huge thing.
I mean, East Lynn we talked about as well. I believe that copy is at UCLA as well.
I believe there are versions you can watch online, but the last 10 minutes are exclusive to the UCLA print that they have.
The fact that it exists online is... It's not supposed to be.
Correct,
online.
yeah.
So there is that. But yeah, I'm just really excited for what we have moving forward with the interviews, finishing up the 7th Academy Awards, and just the opportunity to go and see a film. This is the furthest I have ever traveled for a movie, and
literally coast to coast.
The furthest I'll ever have to travel for a movie.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Who's to say?
But
there's another thing that you're missing out on here. And that's that you will be boots on the ground at the Academy Museum.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll be doing that as well, or I will have done that by now. It was great. Thanks, guys, for asking. Yeah, just overall this trip I'm really excited about. And that's why we've been kind of teasing, like, pay attention to the socials. Those are all listed in the show notes, the Instagram, the TikTok. And just now's a good time, I think, to share with your friends and with your families, like, hey, check out this podcast. Yeah, they go through and they talk about these movies themselves, but like they're also making a little bit of an effort to do more than just watch and review. So
exactly, we're trying to again push the agenda of preservation and restoration. And if it's not physical media like collecting, then it's at least to have it out there for people to collect, and also just to share with family members. I mean, I can't say that it wasn't semi-emotional and therapeutic yesterday going through all of my physical media. And I've had stacks of like 8 to 10 stacks of movies that I've just been sitting on top of my shelves and not stored or alphabetized because I haven't had the space for them. And I, took time out of my day yesterday to like literally the entire day outside of running errands was just building these large shelves. And I did that and then immediately started storing these and like, the idea of taking things and alphabetizing them and putting them, do I want criterions? Do I just want it alphabetized all the way through? And then like I found some duplicates that I had. And then I was like, cool, I can trade these in. And I'm missing this. Now I need to put it in my diary so I know what to look for. And I need to like re-update my register on Blu-ray.com. Like it's very therapeutic. And I've really enjoyed doing that. So the only way we can do that is if these movies are available for purchase.
Yeah.
And at least to obtain them. And some of them aren't. White Parade is a perfect example where there is a DVD, but it's only at UCLA. And that wouldn't have been available if they didn't have the belief in restoration and preservation that they do.
Yeah.
So, huge opportunity. I'm so glad you have the chance to do that. I wish I could go with you. It'll be just the first trip that you take, and I'll join you on the next one. And I've been to the Academy Museum before. I'm still extremely jealous that you're going without me. So, I'm vicariously living through you. And I can't wait to see the updates on socials. I do hope I get some pictures outside of socials.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You'll get all the ones of me, like, doing the scary movie face in front of, like, the ruby slippers. Just like, look where I am.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified, because I did think for a second you were talking about the YouTube, like, POG. Like, when you say scary movie, like,
Oh,
just you
right.
pointing.
Yeah. I'll do that, too. Why not?
I know you will. There's some things I'm waiting for you to see for you to be like, so we'll get there. But that's super cool. Make sure you follow Once More Time at the Oscars on Instagram and check us out. Follow on Patreon for any specific episodes that come out of it. That is additional content, maybe of your experience overall.
For sure.
Maybe we'll release 2 episodes, one for the White Parade, and then just also a recap of your trip. Maybe that'll be one.
Yeah, that'd be a fun little bonus episode.
We'll see.
I like that. Yeah, but stay tuned for all of that. Really looking forward to it. And wish me a happy flight home, I guess. Because, I should be boarding in a few hours if you're listening to this live.
I just thought about having that relaxed, carefree attitude about like figuring out when I'm going to fly. I know this is like in 2 weeks for you or in a week and a half, but the idea of you thinking that right now, like, I wonder when my flight is. You should be on it right now.
Yeah, but that's it for the Barretts of Wimpole Street, which is,
most interesting thing we can do for it is talk about going to California.
Exactly. So, as always, I'm Kyle.
I'm Ryan.
And we'll see you at the movies.